Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on YouTube and we are also in class together. And we are continuing our Maimah in Samach Vav on this fine day. And it's been a little break, so we might be going back a little bit, but we might not be. But here we are in our thing. I'm just adjusting the screen behind me for the benefit of the people in the room. How's that?
Larger, as large as you can have.
This is the biggest it goes.
Okay.
Can you read it?
I can see.
That's about as good as it's going to get. I can bring the table more this way and then it'll make it bigger if you want. It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we've had a little break for Purim and for other things. So now we're going to continue with the mind. We're going to go back to where we were. And let's just start from here and let's read the flow of where we're up to. So
I'm not seeing anything. Are
you
other
can't see it
people
on the screen. Stop share. Let me do it again for a second. So let's reshare. Thank you very much. Here we go. Can you see now, Rachel?
Yeah. Sure.
Yes, thank you.
The flow. We previously discussed a twofold benefit in creation. One, that the divine revelation used in creation should ultimately become compatible and revealed within the world. You'll remember that we said before Hashem created the world, the light was too strong to be in the world. But having created a world and refined the world through our Torah and mitzvahs, we refine the world that the world will be able to accept a higher light that's even greater than the world's capacity. And number two, that through the fulfillment of Torah and mitzvahs, we can draw a divine revelation that transcends the divine energy through which the world was created. Not only do we tap into the energy of creation, but we tap into levels of godliness that are beyond creation. Thus, the purpose of creation is to reveal the very essence of the divine energy, which we call Atzmos Od Ein Sof, within the world, through Torah and mitzvahs. By drawing down the Od Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem, that is Sovev Ka'omen, which means it transcends all worlds. The divine light and energy that encompasses all worlds to its transcendent nature into the divine energy that permeates creation, known as Mamalei Ka'omen. I heard a good word yesterday. I read a good word. There's a translation of Tanya by Rabbi Chaim Miller called the Practical Tanya. It's a green book, the Practical Tanya. It's a very good translation of Tanya. It's not a perfect work because there are no perfect works other than the Torah itself. But it's a very good work. And he translates Mamalei Ka'omen, the way Hashem fills all worlds. He translates it as the way God saturates all of existence. The way the world is saturated with godliness. So I thought that was that's a very good image. It's the way godliness saturates the world. And then, so you look around, everything's saturated with godliness. So that's the way Hashem fills the world. The Sovev Ka'omen is how God is bigger than the world. I don't think he says it there in exactly these words, but Sovev Ka'omen is the idea that God is bigger than the world, bigger than the universe. So there's the way God saturates the world, and then there's the way God is bigger than the universe. And what we're doing over here, when you're drawing Sovev Ka'omen into Mamalei Ka'omen, it means you're bringing the way God is bigger than the world and can't even enter into the world to saturate the world, into the world to saturate the world. So you're tapping into the transcendent and bringing it into the immanent. It's the way God is bigger than the world, entering into the world. And that is the purpose of creation, is to tap into levels that are higher and bring them into the world, the way they saturate the world. Okay. So the first, and this idea is commonly referred to in our classes. And we used the word before, we used this description before, and we're going to explore it later in the Maimah at greater length. Ultimately, what we're doing here is building a home for Hashem. We're making a home for God in the physical world. And we're going to come back to explaining this idea of a home a little bit later. But for now, before we start doing that, let's look at two other reasons that were given in two other sources for the creation of the world. So the first is in Eitz Chaim. Now, in the beginning of Eitz Chaim, by Rabbi Chaim Vital, is one of the most important Kabbalistic works of in the teachings of the Arizal. And over there it is written, the purpose for the creation of the worlds, the Sibas Brias is I believe we read this previously, so we're going back a little bit in our classes, but we're moving forward from here. The purpose for the creation of the worlds is in order to reveal the fulfilled potential of his strengths, abilities, names, and colloquial names. In the Zohar, a reason is provided as well. There it says that creation exists in order that he be known. That God would be known by worthy of having a world. In other words, when it was he himself, no one knew who he was. By making a world, there's an other. Now there's another, the other will know who he is. According to these two opinions, creation was done for the sake of the light of Mamale, which permeates the worlds. This is his strengths and abilities. In other words, by making a world, you'll see the way God permeates a world, the way God saturates a world. And this light is associated with the worlds and is revealed through the creation of the worlds. Even in the light of the well-known idea that creation is mainly done through the infinite light, as it is Sefer Common, as it says, all that God desired, he has done. In other words, even that being said, while we're saying the purpose of creation was that there should be a light that fills the world by which God will be known, even those people will agree that the creative force is bigger than the world. So Sefer Ka'omin means it's bigger than any connection with world. And since it says in the verse, all that God desired, he has done, Kol Asher Chafetz Hashem, God desired, and we know the level of desire is the level of Ratzain, which is higher than the world at Sefer Ka'omin. This only happens in a concealed manner. In other words, the fact that the creator is bigger than the created world isn't revealed within the world. In the world, you can only see as much as God is revealed within the world. It might give you an idea that there is a creator that is bigger than the world, right? You might come to the conclusion that if there is a world, there must be a creator that is bigger than the world, but you don't know who he is. The most you can know is the way he interacts with the world. Though we know of the existence of the infinite light, as it is Sefer Ka'omin from creation, we did learn this. Given that it's impossible for the creation of a distinct entity to occur without Ein Sof, as it is Sefer Ka'omin, as explained elsewhere, philosophically we will come to the conclusion that there is a God who is bigger than the world, and who is not even revealed in the world because he's so much bigger than the world, and the world is only a concealment for this God. Yet there's still not a revelation. This is still not a revelation of Sefer Ka'omin within Mamale Ka'omin, since you might know that it exists, but you don't really know what it is. You can't see it within the world because it's transcendent of the world. And even when considering the statement of the Eitz Chaim that we know God's name of Havaya through creation, Eitz Chaim says that actually not only do we know the name Elohim, the way God fills the world, which is the way God interacts within the natural world, but we can even know that the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, which refers to God's transcendence, still we don't know of God's infinity. If you were to say that he was referring to the interpretation of God's name as Hayah that he was, and will be, which Hayah contract to make the name Yud Hei Vav Hei, that means that he was before the worlds, he will be after the worlds, and he is while the world exists. This would still be a description limited by the boundaries of the created entity of time. Saying that Yud Kei Vav Kei is, and will be, tells us that he's bigger than time, but still you're relating to God in the context of time, so therefore you're not relating to God as he is for himself, which transcends the world and is bigger than time, higher than time, before time even exists as a construct. Now, even if you say that the interpretation of Havaya to which the Arizal was referring was Ein Sof as it is Sefer Ka'omin, this revelation is still not one of Sefer Ka'omin into Mamale Ka'omin. It is only an awareness of Sefer's existence. Even if you want to say that Arizal says that the world itself testifies to the fact that there's something bigger than the world, still you only know that it exists. There's no revelation of it within Mamale Ka'omin, within the world. So in conclusion, what the world tells you, having a world, the main revelation that creation allows is not the light of Sovev Ka'omin, but the light of Mamale Ka'omin, which is enclosed within the worlds. In other words, from within the system of the world, as much as you can know about God, is as the way God interacts within the world. As God is higher than the system of the world, from within the world, you can't access that. So therefore, when the Zohar says that Hashem created the world, that we should know him, the most we can know is the way God is within the world. We can't know God as he is for himself. Similarly, the Zohar says that God made creation in order that he may be known, yet the only possible knowledge and understanding of godliness would be on the level of the light of Mamale Ka'om, in the way he fills the world and saturates the world. See the Zohar, Parshas Bo, which says the phrase, in order that it be known, refers strictly to light as it is enclosed within Kalim, within vessels. While these goals are certainly fulfilled through creation and existence, it is nevertheless impossible to say that they are God's true ultimate intention. We must say that God had a higher reason for the creation of the world. Why? We're going to say the problem with Arizal's reason. The problem with saying that making the God known is the purpose of the world. It can't be the ultimate reason why. Now it says in Eitz Chaim, the reason for creation is so that God can be complete in all his abilities and strengths. So in the Zohar said that God should be known. The Eitz Chaim says that God should be complete. What does that mean? This means that before creation, these strengths were concealed, remaining as mere potential, unrevealed. Therefore, God was incomplete because nothing is complete if it has not come to fruition. Even though God in potential could create a world, because he had never created a world, it was only a potential and not an actuality. And therefore, it's not a full completion. When I was in school, I remember the first time I learned this with one of my friends. It was in the year 2000. We were talking about potential and actuality. And my friend said, it's very simple. He says, if the one Rosh Yeshiva says that the boy has tremendous potential, if the report said he has tremendous potential, the other school knows not to accept him. In other words, you're right. The worst thing you can have written on your report card is Levi has tremendous potential. That means don't accept this kid. Means he hasn't got any achievements. So to say that God could create a world means he never did. It means he never did. So in order to be complete, potential has to be actualized. If potential is not actualized, it's not completion.
But even creating the world is not showing the power.
Okay, so that's the limitation. We're going to get to that. But what the Zohar is saying, what the Eitz Chaim says in the name of the Arizal is that the reason for creation is so that God can be complete in all his abilities and strengths. This means that before creation, these strengths were concealed, remaining as mere potential, unrevealed. Therefore, God was incomplete, because nothing is complete if it had not come to fruition. Jackie Mason has a routine. He says, if he would have said one more word, I would have taken care of him, right? One more word. Nobody knows what that word is. If you didn't do it, you didn't do anything. We could have done it. Could have, should have, would have, but didn't. Which means maybe you couldn't. As long as you haven't, maybe you couldn't. You'll never know. So to be complete, you have to actualize. So therefore, God was incomplete because nothing is complete if it has not come to fruition. Then through creation, this potential came to be realized and revealed, as explained in that Eitz Chaim in the note. So the point is, the purpose of creation was to actualize a potential that could have been done, which is an incredible thing to create a world. It's an incredible thing. How do you know? You know because he did it. Understand? But till he did it, it's only potential. Potential needs to be actualized. So therefore, he created a world, says the Arizal. However, the full implication of this statement cannot truly apply on high. This is true for earthly mortals. But to Hashem, as Josh is already pushing back, saying you can't really say this about God. This lack of fulfillment is only possible for created beings, given that something which exists in the potential of created beings is entirely insubstantial, and certainly has no element of actualization whatsoever. The potential is fulfilled when it is revealed as an effect by accomplishing something physical. On high, however, at the same moment that it arose in God's will to create, all the worlds immediately come into existence, as is known. In other words, in God, there's no such thing. You want it, it's already there. He gets it done. There is no gap between potential and actualization for God. For God, there is no gap between potential and actualization. He has the potential, he wants it, he does it.
Okay. The want is.
As is written in the Paradise from the Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, Paradise from the Ramak, Shara Tzachtzachis, chapter 3. For his thoughts are not like our thoughts. Because when a person thinks to create, that thought has no effect. Thus, we find that the fulfillment is more complete than the potential, because the potential lacks corporeality and has no existence or fulfillment at all. The actualization is the main thing, and it is the only thing which has existence. Besides this actualization, there is nothing. Not so concerning the effects and the actions of the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. For when it arises in His will to create and emanate, at that moment creation is immediately emanated and formed. In other words, if the principle of divine potential can be proved from two angles. God's potential to create Kalim was fulfilled immediately with the creation of the SS spheres Agnuzas. The potential emanate loud was fulfilled. Okay, we're going to explain this now. So he's saying that the second God wanted to have Kalim, he had Kalim. I do want to say, I want to interrupt today's broadcast and wish Josh Klugman a happy birthday for his birthday tomorrow night.
Oh, okay, there you
I don't know any other birthday.
go. Okay. Thank you very much.
Of course. And Svetlana has a birthday, right?
Yeah, tomorrow, yes.
When's your Jewish birthday?
Jewish birthday.
I think it's also tomorrow night, maybe. Do we share
No.
birthdays, Svetlana?
What? I'm sorry.
I don't remember when your Jewish birthday is. You'll look it up and let us know. But
Oh,
it's your English birthday tomorrow. That's right. You and I share an English birthday, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
That's right. Both you and me. We have our English birthdays on the 7th of
Wow.
March.
Happy birthday,
But it's my Jewish
everybody.
birthday tomorrow night. Me and Josh share a Jewish birthday, and me and Svetlana share a Jewish birthday. But I don't remember when Svetlana's Hebrew birthday is. That's it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Svetlana.
Thank you.
Interesting. Huh?
All of us.
To all of us. To all of us.
Happy birthday, everyone.
Happy birthday. Birthday is a very important time. Okay, so this passage, so we're saying that Hashem, let's read it again. Now we're going to learn a very deep concept in Kabbalah, which I think we may have spoken about once, but we don't speak about very often. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't usually talk much about the levels before the Tzimtzum. Today we're going to go talk about higher levels. For this, we need a l'chaim on my tea over here. Now, let's go back again. So the Ramak writes, not so concerning the effects and actions of the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed is He. For when it arises in His will to create and emanate, at that moment, creation is immediately emanated and formed.
So the world of Atzilut.
Even higher. This passage refers Hagnuzas b'ma'atzilon. This passage refers to the Esses Sfirot Hagnuzot, Esses Sfiros Hagnuzais, which existed not in the world of emanation, but in the emanation created by the awakening of God's general will for creation. It is known and explained elsewhere that these spheres existed even in the Ein and Sof as it is before the Tzimtzum.
So they're equivalent to the sphere that we know, or they're different?
Let's read the note and then I'll tell you more, depending on what it says here. Literally, Esespheres literally refers to 10 attributes, the 10 attributes of God. We're very familiar with the Esespheres. These spheres are the divine attributes that God used to express his energy to creation. Their precise nature is the source of fierce debate in Kabbalistic literature, as it is impossible to suggest that God himself is limited to particular attributes. Instead, it is explained that they exist only at the point that God chose to emanate his energy forth. When this occurs, the spheres are used to express that energy. This almost the best, not the best, one of the analogies that's used, it's almost like the 10 colors in God's palette that he uses to paint the world. But he's not defined by the colors. He chooses to use these colors. And we spoke at great length in our previous Mamarim about the fact that the light refracts through the prism, and Hashem brings these things in there. They don't define God, but he chooses to operate within this operating system. The spheres exist at every level, limiting and defining the energy that exists there as per the boundaries of that level. Therefore, while the spheres of Atzilus limit the light to 10 distinct forms, the spheres that exist before the Tzimtzum can scarcely be said to exist at all. Okay, so he doesn't actually tell you over here what Esespheres Agnusis means. Esespheres Agnusis literally means the 10 spheres that are hidden. A gniza is a treasure chest. A gniza is a treasure chest, a chest. Like it's a hidden thing. A gniza is a storage. A gniza literally means a storage place. Lignoz means to store. So what happens over here, but it's hiding them away. Lignoz means to hide also. These are the hidden Esespheres. What that means is like this. Before you have 10 spheres in actuality in the world of Atzilus, you have 10 spheres in potential in the one who's in the emanator who will make the world of emanation.
One-to-one.
If I had to use an analogy, and I'm scared to use this analogy. I'm scared to use this analogy because I don't want to get it wrong, because I'm dealing here with the whole existence of the world is dependent on getting and it could be considered, it's potentially sacrilegious to say such a thing. It's potentially heretical to say what I'm saying, but I don't think it is. That it's almost we know that when light refracts through a prism, the lights then separate and come out, and you see the colors that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. The truth is, though, those colors all exist within the pure light even before it goes through the prism. So the Esespheres Agnusis is almost like the colors within the pure light before it goes through the prism. They're there in potential, but not in actuality, because you're higher than the things. But it's probably even more than that, because maybe I don't know if the colors actually do exist in the light before the prism or not. They may or may not. Here we're saying that they don't even exist yet. They're there in potential. It's the desire. Because Hashem wants to have 10 spheres, so they already exist in a sense of potential even before they actually exist in actuality. So therefore, when the Ramak says in Paradise that the second Hashem wants to have a world, the Esespheres exist immediately. They therefore exist. He's referring over here not to the Esespheres the way they will exist after the Tzimtzum, but he's referring to the Esespheres the way they potentially will exist within himself before the Tzimtzum, in the light before the Tzimtzum.
So I have a question. When we think, we think, but we have like a control of what we're gonna do or not. It looks like with God, that step is not there. It's if he thinks it happens.
So we're saying that
there's no stage between.
So with us too, the second you start thinking something, it happens in the world of thought.
Yeah, but
It doesn't necessarily have to happen in the world of action.
Right.
With God too, it doesn't have to be actualized.
Okay.
It doesn't have to. If he wants it to be actualized, it'll be actualized.
to be a-
But the second he says he wants a world,
That's the Ratzon.
so there's a Ratzon. He wants a world. He wants a world means he wants there to be fragmentation. He wants there to be fragmentation. It means he wants Esesphiris. It means in potential, in the light before the world, there's already Esesphiris. Now, is it actualized? Depends if he wants it to be actualized or not. That's part of what we're talking about
So
up here.
there is God's thought, and then there is the Ratzon.
This is what is meant by the phrase in Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar. So long as the world was not created, so long as the world was not created, he and his name were alone. This refers to the moment at which God's will for creation was awakened. Fact. The name of God refers to God's expressive capabilities. So the Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar reads, as long as the world was not created, he and his expressive capabilities were one. God and all the emanations and creations are all truly one, and once he had the will to create them, all existed in potential. This potential is the name referred to in the Midrash. Okay, it's not so well explained. Ubechina zu, and this level is, if you want to talk about the stage, this level in creation, the stage of creation, is referred to in abstract Kabbalah as Atzilus Diklalus, which is a level we never heard of before today. Am I right? That is to say, that at the moment that it arose in God's will to emanate, the 10 Sfiras Agnuzas were emanated as a matter of course, and the first semblance of creation came into being. However, we're not talking about Atzilus the way we normally talk about Atzilus. We're talking about the source of Atzilus, a higher Atzilus that exists before the Esesphiris, the Atzilus that exists within will, not in Atzilus as it exists within reality. Atzilus Diklalus. The general say the Ishtalshalus. The entire process of creation, from the first stirrings of God's will to the final creation, is called Seder Ishtalshalus Haklalus. It is a macrocosmic version of the traditional Seder Ishtalshalus. It is divided into the same 4 worlds, with each world consisting of a portion of the entire process of creation. Atzilus Diklalus, like Atzilus, refers to a portion of creation that is completely subdued in response to the divine revelation. Atzilus Diklalus begins with the first world for creation and ends with the first Tzimtzum. In other words, earlier today's class, we started talking about a trip that we're going to go to in Israel. So already in our minds, we're already going. And the vacation exists. It doesn't exist in actuality, it exists in potential. So when Hashem desires to have a world, that world already exists. But not as a world, it exists within himself, as a potential world.
So it's the same thing.
That's what we're saying. That's where we get. We created this way to mirror Hashem. It's in concept. It's the concept that the world, it now exists in concept. So the Esesphiris exist as a potential thing, but there are no Esesphiris yet. There are no 10 Sphiris. We call this the Esesphiris Hagnuzos. The 10 Sphiris as they are stored within him. And those will then manifest in the actual manifestation of Esesphiris. And because it's within him, this is the Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar says, that so long as the world was not created, he and his name were alone, meaning that Levad, it's just them. There is a name. The whole purpose of a name is for someone else. You don't have a name for yourself. A name is not for me. I don't need a name. For me, if I was just myself, I was the only one in the world, I wouldn't need a name, because who's going to use it? For me and my own, if you're the only person in the world, you don't need a name. The whole purpose of a name is for someone else. So then why would you have he or Shmei Levad, he and his name for himself? What does that make sense? So the answer is he has a name in potential for if he creates a world, there will be a name. But for now, it's only him and his name alone. Therefore, he has 10 spheres if he wants to have 10 spheres. But for right now, he and his 10 spheres are one and alone. They're not actual 10 spheres, they're potential 10 spheres. We call it the 10 spheres, Esser spheres agnuzais. The stored 10 spheres that could potentially almost, I'm using the word stored, I'm thinking like it could be downloaded if he wants to. But they don't exist. They exist in potential. They exist if he wants to have them, and that is what we're calling general Atzilus, meaning not actual Atzilus, potential Atzilus. Furthermore, according to what is written in Paradise, Shar Seidah Atzilus, chapter 4, as cited by the aforementioned Shalah, there are spheres in potential even before God's will was aroused. Now we're saying the 10 spheres, we're saying the Esser spheres came about as soon as he wanted the world, as soon as he wanted to have them. The Shalah says in the name of the Ramak that actually there's 10 spheres even before that.
What was before?
Potential spheres. Since he could want them, since he could have wanted them, they're already there as a potential. So to the Sefer called Avedis HaKodesh, this ideal is also found in the Sefer Avedis HaKodesh, and for what is explained there, it can be understood that this potential also has a quality of actualization. Who wrote Avedis HaKodesh, Josh? Avedis HaKodesh was written by Meir ben Yechezkel ibn Gabai.
Oh, okay.
He was born in Spain at the end of the 1480s. So he predates the Ramak and the Arizal.
So he was a boy in that stuff.
So he wrote this very important sefer called Avedis HaKodesh. And in his sefer, he says that the second he wanted to have, even before he wanted in potential, they're there. And since it's in potential for Hashem, anything God has in potential already exists in actuality in a certain sense. There's no gap between potential and actuality for God.
Yeah.
He writes, this is what he writes, Ukamesha Kosov, and these are his words. The spheres are hidden there within the Ein Sof. They exist before God's will was aroused in potential, in a delicate and hidden existence. It exists, but not in an actual existence, in a potential existence, but a potential existence is already in existence. A potential existence is already in existence.
Yeah, but not nothing.
Later he writes that the phrase existing spheres almost cannot be applied. That the phrase that they exist as spheres almost cannot be applied, and that should instead be called a true unity. He's one with the spheres, but you can't say he's truly one with the spheres because the spheres are out. They exist, but they almost don't exist. However, since there is nonetheless a delicate form of existence, they can still be called spheres. So what we're doing over here is we're saying that spheres exist long before the world of Atzilus in potential, and since they're in potential, a potential existence is an existence, is a kind of an existence, but it's not really an existence, but it's not a non-existence, and it's a complicated thing.
Yes.
Because if we talk about the oneness of Hashem, you've already got a potential existence, which is an existence in a sense.
It's a little bit like the Rishinu.
In conclusion, it must be said that potential without realization is not possible on high. The moment the spheres exist, in potential, they come into being in actuality, in a very delicate or abstract form. It's an abstract existence. That's the word we're looking for. It's an abstract existence, not a concrete existence. It's an extremely abstract existence, but it's an existence. Thus, God's potential was already fulfilled by the mere existence of potential. So if God, that's the whole point over here. God wanted actualization, not only potential, right? So the section what then is the purpose of the rest of creation? So we're saying that God wanted creation so that there should be actualization. Remember, that's what we said. But the truth is, for God, the second he wants it, it already exists as an abstract existence. So if it already exists as an abstract existence, why does it need a concrete existence? And by the way, do you think a concrete existence is any further or more of an accomplishment for God than an abstract existence? For God, an abstract existence, he's so one, he's so much higher than any form of existence that even an abstract existence is already a full existence.
But that's what we want.
Even an abstract existence is a full existence. So if the purpose of creation is to bring a potential into actuality, abstract existence is enough. I'll give you a mashal. I'll give you an analogy. Let's say you got a theoretical mathematician. They do theoretical mathematics. Okay? And they're trying to figure something out. And they figure it out on paper, in theory. Do they need to actually do it in the physical world? No. Because once they've already done it in their minds, it's done. They figured it out. They don't have to actually go out and do it. They did it. So once you have an abstract solution, you don't need the concrete solution, unless you care about concrete things. But if the whole point of this is to bring an existence into existence, that a potential into an existence, the second it comes out in abstract existence, an abstract existence is just as good as you have it already. So what do you need a concrete existence? So for Hashem, abstract, the second he wanted it, he had it in concept. The second he has it in concept, he's got it. Why did you have to actually do it? So you don't need to make the world. If the purpose of the creation is that there should be existence, abstract existence for Hashem is just as good as concrete existence.
I don't know how we can say it. I mean, we don't know how God thinks.
I have another question.
In other words, you think that there's a difference between concrete existence and abstract existence because you don't even know that abstract existence is even a real thing. All you can relate to is the concrete. But if you are beyond abstract and you bring it out into abstract, you've already got it completely. And therefore, if the answer is Hashem wants existence, he had existence even without making a world like this. You actually have to build take the blocks and put together the pattern. He didn't need to do it. He had it in his mind already. So why does he do it? It can't be that the reason is actualization, because actualization was accomplished even before the creation of the world for God, who's beyond actualization. Actualization exists even before the world of Atzilus. Not just the world of Atzilus, but even in the Esespheres Agnuzas, he has actualization. He has actualization. So if the goal is actualization, he had actualization. So therefore, this world as we know it, we cannot say that the ultimate reason for the creation of this world is that God, we can't say the answer is he wanted actualization. Because if he wanted actualization, he didn't need this. If he wanted actualization, he had actualization already in the Esespheres Agnuzas. That's actualization compared to Hashem. So therefore, we have to say he wanted dafka this, not he wanted actualization. Not he wanted actualization. Actualization is achieved way higher. Actualization is achieved in the highest levels, in the laboratory, in the thought before the laboratory, in the thought he achieved actualization. So he doesn't need this for actualization. So then why did he do this? There's another reason. It's the reason we said before that he wants a home in a physical world, all that other stuff that we always talk about. But the Zohar's reason and the Eitz Chaim's reason that he wanted to make himself known and that he wanted to have actualization, you don't need this for God to make himself known. He doesn't need this. For God to have actualization, he doesn't need this. Why do you have this? Why this? Make a world of angels. Make a world higher than angels. He could have fulfilled himself without making without bombs going off in Iran. He doesn't need God doesn't need this for actualization. Actualization, God can achieve on a much higher level than in this world. So why did he make this? There's got to be another reason that with that answer of actualization, that answer of showing his power doesn't need to be done here. This is not, this doesn't show anything. Any questions or comments? Rachel, you had a question.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, I'm gonna ask it. It says about that, wait, let me remember now. Before, it says something about before Hashem's will was aroused, the Sphirot existed, in this more abstract form. But what is it? Is there even a before and after at that level? I mean, didn't time not exist yet? I mean, maybe I'm kind of nitpicking, but I'm curious about the word before the will was aroused. Wouldn't anything that exists within Hashem always be there because there's no time at that level?
You're assuming that God's will is beyond time.
Oh.
One second. The second, you have the concept of will. So then you have before the will and after the will, or during the will. So you're already you're right, it's before time.
Okay.
But it's also, but time is already starting. You have a hidden form of time.
Uh-huh.
Unless you don't. I understand your question. So,
Yeah.
but when we say before here, we don't necessarily mean chronologically. We also mean in level. We mean higher than will.
Mm-hmm.
Time over here also means stages, but
Mhm.
that's exactly the point. The second he wants it, he sort of has it. So therefore, why does he need to go all the way and do it?
Well, but the implication is that he didn't necessarily always want it. It says before his will was aroused, but I
At a
understand.
level before there's a desire for a world. What we're ultimately going to say, Rachel, in answer to your question, what we're ultimately going to say is that the desire for a world is rooted in the essence of God, and therefore it's bigger than desire, is bigger than time, and it's bigger than everything, and it's going to bring everything together, and we're going to bring us all out. The levels that you're talking about, what you're referring to is higher than the levels that are being discussed over here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what you're referring to, and that's good. That's what we're getting to.
Okay.
We're getting higher. We're going higher.
Thank you. That's good. That helps.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's stop here. That's a lot. Any other questions or comments before we call it a day over here?
Can I just make a comment? I don't know how appropriate it is. Instead of thinking in terms of mathematics, if you will think in terms of music, when world is created, the music resonates within the material world. So it's kind of makes it stronger, maybe. I don't know. I kind of think about music.
It's very good. That's very, very good. That's very, very good. Let's go to another analogy with that, okay? Who was it? Beethoven that lost his hearing?
Yeah.
And he was writing music and conducting music even without hearing the music.
Yeah.
The greatest symphony.
His greatest symphony, the Ninth Symphony. He was creating music without actually ever hearing that music. For him, now the question is, did Beethoven, I don't know if Beethoven was immortal. So Beethoven might have wished he could actually hear his own music, or it's possible he didn't need to hear the music. He knew how good it was even without actually hearing it. In his head, he heard it, or whatever. So that's a good analogy for the idea that something exists. To him, the music is playing, even though he doesn't need it to actually right? You're creating music on a higher level than the actual sound of the music.
Says
Now,
about
for Hashem,
Mozart.
it could be a regular person wants to actually hear their music being played.
Yeah.
But for Hashem, the second he's got the music, he doesn't need to play it. It exists. It's finished. You need to do more. Move on to the next one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's call it a day with this. We're now going to take a break for 5 minutes. When we come back, we're going to watch the